You feel the shiver before you even realize it. The gaze that meets yours seems different, yet something about it unsettles you. The smile is new, but it sounds like an old echo. A scent drifts through the air, not the same as before, yet it awakens the same hidden memory inside you. Your body recognizes it before your mind understands. Your heart races, your hands turn cold, and within you a question whispers, "Why does it feel like I've lived this before?" You convince yourself it is only coincidence, that this time will be different. But deep down, something unsettling is already written, and this sense of familiarity is no accident. It is the first sign that the past has returned, knocking at your door, disguised as the present. And the question you cannot silence is this: did you truly choose this person? Or were you chosen by the echo of an old story that refuses to end? You believe you chose differently this time. The voice sounds sweeter. The gestures seem more gentle. There is a silent promise that now, everything will be better. But as the days pass, you begin to notice the same signs. The familiar words you once heard from another mouth. The same heavy silence. The same invisible pressure in your chest. It is as if you were trapped in a circle that never breaks. Freud called this the compulsion to repeat. It is when you insist on reliving, without realizing it, the same painful scene, as if time were a stage, and you, the actor condemned to play the same role again and again. The scenery changes, the faces too, but the story is identical. And you ask yourself, why do I always return to the same place, even when I swear I will not? The unconscious, Freud said, follows its own rules. It does not obey logic. It does not care about bringing happiness. It only seeks what it already knows. And what it knows is trauma. It is the abandonment you once felt. It is the rejection you never understood. It is the pain that was buried, but never forgotten. So, when you meet someone who awakens that echo, the pull is immediate. It does not matter if, rationally, you know it could be dangerous. Something stronger pushes you toward repetition. Because, for the unconscious, to repeat is an attempt to resolve. To believe that this time, the story will end differently. But do not be deceived. The circle is closed. Each new attempt only tightens the chain. You believe you are moving forward, when in truth you are only returning to the same point. It is like walking up a spiral staircase. You feel as if you are rising, but you are always circling around the same emptiness. And the question begins to burn inside you. If the unconscious insists on repeating, is there a way out? Is it truly possible to break the cycle? Or are you condemned to live, forever, the same pain in different faces? You believe you are in control. You tell yourself that this time it is different, that you have learned from past wounds, that you know how to spot the signs, that you will not allow the same mistakes to happen again. But before you realize it, you are already inside the same story, as if an invisible force had guided each step. Freud was blunt. The ego is not master in its own house. You like to think you make free choices, that you decide whom to love, whom to let into your life. But the truth is, there's a part of you that chooses in silence, without asking for permission, without explaining why. That part is the unconscious. The unconscious does not know logic. It does not distinguish what is healthy from what is destructive. It seeks only what feels familiar. And if what feels familiar to you is pain, abandonment, or rejection, then that is where it will lead you, no matter how hard you fight against it. It is like walking down a dark street. You try to change direction, but your feet always carry you back to the same alley. You promise yourself you will be strong, yet you find yourself once again before the same scene, with the same lines, only spoken by a different body. The most disturbing part is that the unconscious is not trying to punish you. It repeats in order to try to resolve. It is as if inside you lives a wounded child, insisting on reliving the pain in the hope that this time, it will finally receive a different ending. But the ending rarely changes. The scene plays again, and the wound only deepens. And while you fight what you see on the surface, the real battle unfolds in the depths. You think you are choosing someone because they are kind, because they seem safe, because they offer what was missing. But in the shadows, the unconscious is guiding you toward what resembles the wound that was never healed. Freud showed that this is where the trap lies. You believe you are in command, when in truth, you're being led by hidden forces. And every step that feels new, is only another move inside an old script. And the question that refuses to leave you is this: if the unconscious decides before you, how can you ever escape something that acts in silence? You feel as if you have found something intense. Your heart races, your breath shortens, and every gesture seems loaded with meaning. It is as if you had finally discovered what you had been waiting for all along. But slowly, the intensity that seemed like love begins to reveal its weight. And you wonder, is this warmth passion, or only the echo of an old wound? Freud said that what is repressed never truly disappears. He called it the return of the repressed. Memories, pains, and conflicts that, even when buried, find a way back. And the most unsettling part is that they do not return as clear memories. They come back disguised. They may appear in dreams, in symptoms, or in people. That is why you look at someone and feel an inexplicable force, an attraction so intense it feels like destiny. But what is really happening is that your unconscious has recognized, in that gaze, an opportunity to relive what was once forgotten. Not to destroy you on purpose, but because it believes that by repeating the scene, it may finally resolve it. Only that resolution never comes. What was once a promise of healing becomes the repetition of pain. What looked like love becomes the stage where old wounds begin to bleed again. You think you are meeting someone new, but in truth, you are encountering your own story once more. That suffocating silence has been lived somewhere before. That hidden demand has already spoken through another voice. And that strange mix of desire and fear is the signature of an old trauma, wearing a new mask. Freud explained that the unconscious creates this disguise precisely to keep itself alive. You do not recognize it right away because if you did, you would have the chance to break free. And repetition only survives as long as you do not see it. That is why what feels like love at first sight may, in fact, be the reenactment of a scene that was never finished. And the question that begins to burn inside you is simple and devastating. Are you truly loving the person before you? Or are you once again embracing the ghost of a pain that never ceased to exist? Have you noticed how, even after suffering, something inside you pushes you back into similar situations? It is as if pain had a scent, a texture, an atmosphere that silently pulls you in. You know it will hurt, and yet there is a strange feeling of home when you step into that territory. Freud explained that the unconscious is not guided by what is good or healthy. It is guided by what is familiar. And for those who grew up surrounded by rejection, abandonment, or criticism, the familiar is not comfort. It is pain. That is why, when you meet someone who awakens that same unease as before, a part of you feels strangely safe. It is not the safety that soothes. It is the safety of the known. It is like returning to a ruined house. The walls are cracked. The ceiling threatens to collapse, but you know where every gap is. There is no surprise, no novelty. And for the unconscious, the predictability of pain is less frightening than the risk of a truly new love. This return to the familiar is treacherous, because on the surface, you believe you are choosing out of affinity. But in truth, it is the trauma choosing for you. It leads you back to the same type of person, the same kind of relationship, because that is the only place it knows how to move, even if it means hurting you once again. Freud pointed out that, when faced with the unknown, the unconscious prefers to repeat the suffering of the past. It is as if there were an inner compass that always points toward the wound, and you follow it, believing that this time will be different. But deep down, you already know how it ends. The most disturbing realization is that pain, when repeated, creates the illusion of belonging. You mistake chains for embraces. You mistake suffocating silence for care. And without noticing, you are once again trapped in the same labyrinth. And then comes the question that cuts like a blade. Are you truly searching for love? Or only looking for the same pain you once learned to call home? By now, you must realize that nothing you heard here was by chance. If this video made sense to you, perhaps it is because a part of your mind needed this clarity right now. So make sure you're subscribed to this channel. That way, you will not risk staying in the dark, while together we reveal the truths that hide in the shadows. You believe that if you love hard enough, the story can change. That this time, you will finally have the chance to fix what went wrong before. It feels like a silent hope that the past could be rewritten through the present. And that hope is what keeps you trapped, even when reality is already showing signs that nothing has changed. Freud explained that the unconscious does not just repeat. It repeats with a hidden purpose, as if it were searching for the second chance that never existed. The unresolved trauma creates inside you a need to return to the stage of pain, believing that if you act it all out again, the ending will be different. But contrary to what you long for, the script remains the same. Repetition does not set you free. It only tightens the chains. It is like trying to open an old lock with the same key that has always failed. You insist, you force it, your fingers ache, convinced that this time it will work. But the door never opens. And with every attempt, the frustration grows. That is the cruel illusion of the second chance. You see signs of change, but in truth, you are trapped in a silent promise that will never be fulfilled. Because it is not the person in front of you who needs to change. It is the entire scene, built by the unconscious, that needs to be revealed. Freud said that the symptom repeats until it becomes conscious. As long as you cannot see it, the cycle renews itself. You believe you are writing a new story, but you are only memorizing the lines of the old play. The stage is the same. The lines are the same. The pain is the same. And when you finally notice, you are already back in the place where you swore you would never return. You look at yourself and ask, how did I end up here again? The answer is harsh, because the illusion of a second chance has always pulled you back. Not because it could truly be different, but because of the unconscious desire to heal what was never healed. And then comes the dilemma. How many more times will you need to believe in the same promise before admitting that the past cannot be fixed by reliving it? You may have already asked yourself, why do I keep returning to what hurts me? It makes no sense to seek suffering. And yet, there is something inside you that feels a strange attraction to it. It is almost as if there were a hidden pleasure in repeating the pain. Freud called this dark force the death drive. While the life drive pushes you forward, toward growth and healthy pleasure, the death drive drags you back to what was before, to conflict, to emptiness. It is as if there were an underground current inside you, pulling you backward, even while you struggle to move ahead. The most disturbing part is that this pleasure is not conscious. You do not wake up wanting to suffer. You do not deliberately wish to fall into the same cycle again. But the unconscious finds satisfaction in repetition, because by reliving the trauma, it believes it might finally master it. Only instead of gaining control, you lose yourself deeper inside it. It is like a moth flying toward the flame. The light is warm, fascinating, impossible to resist. And even though the fire destroys it, the moth returns again and again. This is the silent movement of the death drive, the dark attraction to what is known, even if it is lethal. You may convince yourself you're simply giving one more chance. You may believe that this time will be different. But deep down, there's an invisible thread tying you to the same old wound. A thread that does not break, because the unconscious still longs for the ending it never had. Freud observed that this dark pleasure is not about happiness. It is about repetition. It is as if the unconscious were saying, I prefer the certainty of pain over the risk of the new. And as long as this remains hidden, you will keep returning, even against your own will. And then comes the inevitable question. How many more times will you burn yourself in the same flame before realizing that the secret pleasure of repetition is, in truth, the most silent prison of all? You look around and realize that the faces change, but the story remains. The setting is different, the voices carry other tones, but the feeling is always the same. It is in this moment that the mirror begins to form before you. And no matter how painful it is, the reflection staring back is not theirs. It is yours. Freud said that repetition is the path through which the unconscious reveals itself. The trauma returns not to punish you, but to be recognized. And while you believe the problem lies only in the people you choose, you ignore the most uncomfortable truth. The scene is replayed inside you. The mirror shows that it is not only they who repeat. It is you who meets yourself again in every relationship. The abandonment you fear was already inscribed in your story. The rejection that wounds you now is the same one that marked your childhood. Every new person is only another actor in an old play, written long before you ever noticed. This moment of awareness is devastating, because it means admitting that it is not enough to run from others. Not enough to change cities, switch partners, cut ties. The shadow follows. The mirror is always before you. Freud explained that there is no way out until the repressed becomes conscious. It is at this point that repetition ceases to be destiny and begins to turn into choice. But until then, you will go on confusing the present with the past, believing you are in love with someone when, in truth, you are only trying to reconcile with a wound that was never healed. The mirror does not lie. It returns the raw reflection. You are not only standing before the other, you are standing before yourself. And the question that echoes, as you face that reflection, is simple and piercing. How many more times will you endure reliving the same scene before finding the courage to see that the true character who needs to be freed is you? Imagine someone walking every day down the same narrow street. At the end of it, there's a heavy, old door, always closed. This person insists on returning there, believing that one day, somehow, they will finally be able to cross it. They push, they force, they wear down their shoulders against the wood. They try to break it down with anger, beg with hope. And with each failed attempt, the frustration grows, but so does the desire to try again. Because deep down, they believe that once they manage to open it, they will find on the other side everything that was always missing. Love, safety, acceptance. This scene repeats itself every single day. A silent cycle of pain and hope. Until one day, exhausted, this person sits on the ground before the door. And in that moment of stillness, they place a hand in their pocket. There all along was the key. Freud said the unconscious makes us repeat, as if we were pounding against the same closed door, believing that one day it will give way. But the truth is, the key was never outside. It was always with us, hidden in the pocket of the unconscious. Repetition is only the path the mind takes to lead us back to what must be seen. And when this person finally puts the key in the lock, they realize something unsettling. The door was never locked. It was the insistence on forcing it open, the blindness to what they carried within, that kept them trapped. The same happens with you. Each repetition, each cycle of pain, each encounter with the same kind of person is not chance. It is your mind pounding on the same door, trying to resolve what was left unfinished. And as long as you do not recognize that the key is within you, you will keep returning to the same street, believing the solution lies outside, when it has always been inside. And in that moment, a new question echoes. Have you realized that the door you keep fighting against is, in truth, a reflection of what you never wanted to face within yourself? Now you understand that nothing that kept repeating in your life was by chance. Every return of pain, every cycle that felt like punishment, was in truth a silent calling from your unconscious. Freud revealed that the compulsion to repeat is not a curse, but a request for awareness. The mind insists on bringing the trauma back because it longs for you to finally see it. It is not destiny. It is not bad luck. It is your story trying to be told to its end. And as long as you keep running from it, you will remain a prisoner of the same script. But in the instant you recognize the repetition, something changes. The pain ceases to be only pain. It becomes a key that can open doors that always seemed closed. Freud said that healing begins when the unconscious becomes conscious. It is in that moment that you discover you no longer need to burn yourself in the same flame, nor keep pushing against the same door. You can choose differently. You can give yourself what you always search for in another. And it is there that repetition loses its power. This channel exists for that, to illuminate the dark corners where the mind hides its traps. Here, each video is a mirror that helps you see what was once concealed. So check now if you're already subscribed. Do not let the unconscious go on deciding in silence. By following this space, you take conscious steps out of the cycles that always imprisoned you. Share this video with someone you know is still trapped in the same story. Sometimes, all it takes is a new vision for someone to find the key they were carrying all along. And prepare yourself, because in our next meeting we will descend even deeper into the shadows of the mind, revealing truths few have the courage to face. Remember, we will see each other in the shadows of the next hidden truth.